Hey, what's up, Colorado Realtors? I'm Scott Peterson. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Legal Bites. This is another COVID edition. I hate to say it, but I love to say it because I feel like I haven't had to do a COVID edition in a long time. This one's probably a couple or a week and a half overdue, maybe. But the good news is it's going in the right direction. And this isn't more, kind of scary stuff moving into bad colors. It's more moving out of colors and into a little bit more normalcy with regard to business for the most part. So I've been getting a ton of questions since April 16th, I guess, about a week ago Friday, when the COVID color dial that was sort of governing the entire state of Colorado wound down, essentially. And no longer is that color dial in place, and no longer is the state of Colorado kind of controlling what each individual county within Colorado is doing as it relates to that color dial. So that's a good thing, absolutely moving in the right direction from a COVID standpoint. But that's created since then some confusion about a couple of different issues. And I want to give you guys a couple of resources. And so I'm going to do it through some links that I'm going to be providing. If you're watching this on YouTube, then down below this, link number 1 is going to be, and you can click on it, and I'd encourage you to bookmark and save it if you haven't already. It's going to be the same link that you used before for the COVID color dial. But when you click on that link, you'll notice now, since April 16th, I don't think they actually updated it until a week ago yesterday. But you'll notice now it's more of a monochromatic, or I guess dual chromatic. There's two colors. There's gray and I think it's green, essentially. And so it's the same map, but each color is either gray or green. The green colors indicate that there are local restrictions that are in place related to COVID. And then the gray colors essentially mean that the county has taken control and they don't have any local restrictions in place related to COVID. You'll find that the green areas are your more densely populated municipal counties and cities throughout the state, as well as some of your resort areas where they have more tourism, international travelers, and are being a little bit more restrictive. So I'll talk about the county restrictions. And so most of those counties that I'm describing that are green on that map have decided to essentially hold on to the last vestiges of the COVID color dial. And so if you scroll down further below the map on that link, you'll see literally broken out by cities and counties. You can see exactly if there are any specific restrictions in place in that immediate area. And I can say that there are either none, which is great, in more rural, less populous counties, or there are either level green, blue, or yellow. Yellow is the most restrictive that is currently in place, any place in the state of Colorado. And so if your county is in that green, blue, or yellow spectrum, and they're still sort of holding on to the original limitations on the color dial, then that's what would apply with regard to the real estate business. And so I'm also going to be linking down below 3 more links, and that is to the PDF file that contain the frequently asked questions that the Division of Real Estate published back at the beginning of this year, very late, maybe last year. And so what I've linked there are the green, the blue, and the yellow FAQs. And so based on where you are in the state, if you're in a county, as an example, in the metro area, where I think largely in the Denver metro area, where largely the counties around here are blue, then the limitations on your business are going to be really the same thing that were under the level blue restrictions under the COVID dial. So those same FAQs are going to apply. So you've got a benchmark, something to rely on. You may think it's too much. You may think it's too little. Whatever the case may be, that is what it is for the time being. And so utilize those if you're in one of the county level restricted folks who are still using the COVID color dial. Those still apply. And then if you're in one of the gray counties, then you have less limitations, right? You've got basically really nothing. There's no FAQs. There's no business restrictions. The only thing I would mention is I think it's the 3rd of May, so just next week. There's currently an indoor public mask mandate required, and that's still a state mandate that's in place in indoor public venues, which is what would apply if you were good to do showings or open houses, or if you're doing business in your office, any of those things. That indoor mask mandate is in place statewide until next Tuesday, I think it is, whatever day the 3rd of May is. And we'll see what happens with the Governor Polis's decision to either reauthorize and extend that for yet another 30 days, or to allow that to expire, in which case, the counties are kind of going to be on their own to delineate what they want to do. So stay tuned next week for what's going on with that. But that is one of the indoor public mask mandate is still going to be in place when you're carrying on your business activities indoor. And so I would continue to be mindful of that at least until next Tuesday. And then TBD, we'll see what happens with that. The last thing I want to point out in this regard is the fact that there still could be, for a time to come, as long as possible, if a seller is instructing their listing broker to put additional limitations or requirements on showings or open houses or anything else, obviously they're free to do that. And so you've got to be respectful and mindful of any showing limitations. If they want mask, gloves, and a pink tutu on everybody, then I suppose they could request that or demand that with regard to accessing the property. So that's going to be a bit more of a case-by-case, homeowner, seller-by-seller basis with regard to limitations that you might be needing to adhere to within brokerage remarks or showing instructions or wherever. And so we need to be mindful of those things. So the last thing I'm going to talk about very quickly is and I've had a ton of questions on the federal eviction moratorium. That is the CDC's eviction moratorium. That is still in place through June 30th of this year. And so another link that I'm going to put to a PDF is to the form that it's promulgated by the CDC. And the form essentially is something that a tenant, if they are looking to take advantage of the COVID protections that have been generated and take advantage of this eviction moratorium, they need to fill this out and give this to you. And they're signing this under penalty of perjury. And there's a variety of things in this form. So if you haven't seen that yet, if you're a property owner, investor, or I would imagine if you're a professional property manager, you've probably seen and been utilizing this. But for some reason, I'm still getting a lot of calls about kind of the limitations. Well, the federal eviction moratorium, remember, there is not a state eviction moratorium in place and hasn't been for some time. It's only been this CDC one, but it has contemplated the submission of this declaration or affidavit by a tenant to a landlord under penalty of perjury that certain conditions apply that prevent them from being able to pay rent or vacate the property or what have you. And so there's a link to that as well. If you guys haven't seen that, I would encourage you to make sure you're familiar with that document. And we'll see what happens after June 30th of this year, whether that eviction moratorium is extended or whether it's allowed to go. And I think we may see a rush to the county courthouse, so to speak, to try and retake possession of property. So that's going to be an interesting next kind of twist in things. But anyhow, so a lot of links below. One link is to the state website, the old COVID dial, but that still is going to be a useful repository for information related to your specific county's limitation. There are links to the 3 different colored FAQs, green, blue, and yellow. And then there's also a link to that CDC affidavit or declaration that a tenant is supposed to be using. And I think that covers the most of the real questions that I've been hearing and getting quite a bit of on the hotline. This has been in place for about 10 days and this change, and I was hoping for a little bit more information or some clarity specific to real estate business, but we really haven't had too much of that. And I think, again, that's generally a pretty good thing because you guys have been doing a great job of adhering to the limitations and restrictions. And it feels like we're heading into maybe, more of a spring and summer that is, cross our fingers, much more normal. And you guys get some inventory back to go and sell to all of these would-be Colorado residents, new residents, and homeowners. So my phone's ringing here. So anyhow, hopefully that helps. And if you have questions, always check out the legal hotline. I'm also going to be doing a couple of legal bites. I know that it has been a couple of months. It's been, as my kids would say, a hot second since I've posted any legal bites. But I figure you guys are sick of hearing me and listening to me, seeing me on these stupid videos. But I am going to do a couple of legal bites tomorrow in the car studios, non-COVID related. So you have that to look forward to. We'll see you guys again soon. And hopefully everybody stays busy and healthy and safe and well and the whole 9 yards. And we will see you soon. Take care, guys.